This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, we are proudly in association with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. And tonight, we are 100% British. And as always, we are still 100% Giants. And the 2025 Giants are 0-1 after yet another dismal start to the season. So much so that three of the guys couldn't bear to be here tonight. I mean, one of them's in Florida. One was on a night shift, and the other one is stuck in London because of tube strikes. But we'll let them off. It's fine. But yeah, there's two of us here tonight. It's myself, it's Aaron. We're back to break down Sunday's game. Should we start the post-mortem now, Aaron?
Yeah, it's that therapy session that
It certainly is.
Watching last year certainly was a way to digest the performance and get us ready to watch the next one. Wasn't the way we expected. I have to firstly come out and apologise to everyone for my miscalculation, predicting that we'd score over 30 points. But I would like to say I was factoring in Andrew Thomas was playing. And, you know, that was clearly the difference, was no Andrew Thomas. And if I'd known that, I would have been closer with my prediction.
Yeah, you know what? If AT was on the fields, there would have been a 30-bagger all day long. if only that was the case. Even to all those watching, next comment so far. It just wasn't the start to the season that that a lot of people expected, really. And yes, I predicted a loss in last week's preview show, and so did Shane, and obviously we were right to predict a loss, but I don't think any of us really thought that it would go the way that it did. I thought there would be some sort of reason for optimism, and we were talking before we came on air, and it was just like, it's almost like it was a hangover from last season. We just seemed to make the same mistakes again like we did last year, and we're beginning to sound like a broken record on this podcast, because we're going to talk about the same issues that we talked about all of last season. It is going to be that first therapy session of the season, and don't worry, Holty, there's going to be some rants, no doubt. It just was such a poor way to start the season, and I suppose the only way is up from here. But we can't really get much worse than we did on Sunday, although I say that and I'll probably jinx this Sunday coming now. But it can't really get much worse. We had opportunities to get points on the board, and for whatever reason we just couldn't. And like I said, the post-mortem begins. We're going to get into it. Exactly, Mark. 3 straight years without a damn touchdown on opening weekend, and that in itself is an embarrassing statistic. 20. You have to go back 4 years, 4 damn years since we scored a touchdown on opening weekend. Give us something to cheer about, because it's been diabolical the last couple of seasons. Give us something to cheer about, but instead we see the same trash football, the same trash offense, the same bullshit football that we've seen in the last couple of years. I mean, I'm ranting already, and we're only 4 minutes in, so I'll try not to rant too much. If you are watching live on YouTube, X, or any other platform, get involved in the comments as you are doing already. Send us your questions, give us your opinions, what you thought of the game, and also don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you're watching live. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Feel free to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. How many stars, Aaron?
Well, unlike the Giants' 1-star, maybe 0-star performance, we deserve a 5-star review.
We absolutely deserve a 5-star review, but that's 1 star less than the Giants scored in points. So, way. Feel the burn. Yeah, we're going to get cracking, get into the game. Don't worry, Holly. I'm going to be ranting most of the night because, yeah, here we go. Before we do get going, there is a couple of little bits of news. Obviously, quite early on in the game, linebacker Michael McFadden left the game on the injury cart, which wasn't a good look. His leg was in the air cast as well, which is never a good look. Early reports are that it's not as bad as it first feared. Dave said he'll have more information today on the injury. Haven't heard anything yet, but he did confirm that he didn't break his leg, which is at least a little bit of good news to come out of the weekend. Obviously, it's not good news that he got injured in the first place, but at least it may not be as bad as first feared. I've heard potentially high ankle sprain, and we all know how high ankle sprains can affect players throughout the season. So I think it's just a case of watch this space with that one. Gutting to lose him so early on in the season because, it's going to be a big part of our defense. Obviously, Darius Musau came in place of him, and let's face it, didn't have the best game. So I think the sooner we can get Michael McFadden back into the squad, the better. Dabes has confirmed that during Monday's press conference with the media, that Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for Week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys, squashing all those rumours that Jackson Dart was going to be up this weekend. I'm not surprised there was people calling for Jackson Dart already. Maybe it's a little bit too soon. Would you want to put Jackson Dart behind this offensive line at the moment, Aaron?
No, that's exactly the main point. Is regardless of who the quarterback was, it could have been the guy that wore 8 last season. It doesn't matter when you're getting that level of performance in front of you. So Russ is on a 1-year lease agreement. Let him take the hits until the team's ready for it. And at some point, we're going to have to see Dart because Dable needs to save his job, and that little spark might be the difference. But yeah, certainly until Andrew Thomas is back, I will not be wanting to put Dart out there.
No, sirree, Bob. Don't even risk it. Don't risk it. Just keep Russ out there. Not saying but we obviously want Russ to get injured or hurt or anything. But I think you'd just be stupid, and you'd be. What's the word I'm thinking of? It'd just be stupid just to put him out there for the sake of.
It's so important to a rookie's development to not knock their confidence early, and throwing them out under pressure, a pressure rate of like 50-odd%. Like, it's not a way to let a rookie start their career. Not when you've got the option not to. Like, it's not like we've mismanaged the roster that the rookie is the only guy that can start. We've got 2 capable starters that can play if we need to, and before the rookie has to go out there. And I think a different scenario, there's a way he comes in and has a couple of plays. Maybe he comes in as a goal line series. Maybe he has to go in, something else, but not with the way that the offensive line had played in that game. And it was like, even at the end on the final drive when, the game's basically gone, you're like, well, even if we get the ball back here, you're not going to throw Jackson Dart out there and the game is gone, so...
No, and Dave did say he didn't at any point consider putting Dart in the game, and I'm not surprised by that. At the end of the day, Russ is your starting quarterback. You can't pull him, 3/4 of the way through week 1 because that's just going to be a bad look, and he's going to be pissed. The fans are going to be pissed. So I think it's probably not a good idea. Just want to say, evening, Scott. I hope you enjoyed your weekend out in Washington. I'm sure you did because you got the dub. And let's face it, I think you were just kind of in first gear the whole game. Really, you didn't really have to get out of first gear to beat us on Sunday. And as ever, Jayden Daniels looked impressive. So you want to hold on to him, mate, because he's going to be a quality player for, in the years to come.
Yeah, don't do a Jerry. Extend him now.
Yeah, get him. Yeah, extend him now. Pay him now, because in 2 or 3 years' time, you may come to regret it. So yeah, just pay the man. Pay the man, because he's a class act, and he looked very, very good at the weekend. Last little bit of news. So JL Sports Agency tweeted on Monday that Reed Holsky, great name, was signing with the Giants practice squad. He comes in at 6'6", £310, assigned by the Ravens as an undrafted free agent out of Miami, Ohio in this year's draft. During preseason, he played a total of 41 snaps, giving up 0 sacks, pressures, hits, or hurries, but the Ravens opted to release him as they trimmed their roster down to 53 on the 25th of August. He was then picked up by the Houston Texans, but was let go of them last week as part of their roster moves. In terms of his playing time in college, he started 53 of 54 games at right tackle for Miami, with the other start coming at left tackle. He was also named Miami's Offensive Power Player of the Year. Throughout his 5 years at college, he allowed 8 sacks, 13 hurries, 56 hurries, and 77 pressures. So another tackle in the practice squad. Do you know much about him, Aaron?
I've seen him listed as a centre, so maybe it's some things for centre. He's certainly a guy that could be multiple positions. It's one of those guys. So yeah, one of these moves, they're kind of just jigging and things around, and who knows? Practice squad moves. Your practice squad is just an extension of the roster. Anyone that can come in and improve this O-line will give it a go.
I mean, God knows we help it. God knows we need that help, And the fact that Evan Neal didn't even suit up at the weekend as well. Healthy scratch from the game. Great vote of confidence for him in his this year that is absolutely key to potentially his career. The fact he didn't suit up in week 1.
He's behind Stinney as guard, and that's not a place you want to be. But when we get into the discussion point, maybe a different guard would have been a good idea.
Maybe. Just wanted to add, as Scott added as well, Giants fans are fuming after wanting Russ benched. All very amicable. Keep doing your thing, gents. It's hard graft. It is hard graft. Trust me, we know it's hard graft. 3-14 last year, that was very, very difficult. Like I said, it's not the best start to the season. It can only get better from here. Hopefully, touch wood. If not, I'm sure Shane will be all aboard the tank train very, very soon. Onto the game then. Let's get into it. All the hype during pre-season, all that positivity, and the Giants became only the 3rd team in NFL history to have 6 or fewer points in 3 straight season openers. Chris Myrick was the last person that scored a touchdown in 2022 in week 1. There we go. The Giants, let that sink in. Let that sink in. The Giants became only the 3rd team in league history to have 6 or fewer points in 3 straight season opening games. The only other teams, the Chicago Bears in 1922 to 1925, and the Detroit Lions in 1940 to 1942. So, quick maths says that's 80 years since that's been done. 80 years. 83 years even since that's been done. And
so it's the first time in colour, and maybe the first time without leather helmet on.
First time in Super Bowl era, clearly, obviously, as well. It's just, wow. We've been outscored in those 3 season openers, 89 points to 12, 0 touchdowns, 4 field goals. Yay. Like I said, it can only get better, surely. And obviously, those 3 season openers have all been under Brian Dable. So it's not a good look for him. Our last touchdown in week 1 was 4 years ago in that game against the Tennessee Titans. The Washington Commanders ran out 21-6 winners to notch their 3rd straight win over Big Blue. Jaden Daniels led his team to, I mean, I wouldn't class it as necessarily a resounding victory. They were blowing the cobwebs off of themselves. I think at times it was maybe unconvincing, but it was comfortable because, let's face it, they came up against one of the worst teams in the league right now. We stand after week 1 as the lowest scoring team in the league, with only Miami and Houston being the other teams in the single digits after week 1. I believe Houston are the only other team that didn't score a touchdown, because I think Miami scored one right at the end of the game against the Colts, and we won't mention anything against the game against the Colts because there's nobody to talk about in that game. Oh no, wait. Before we carry on, there is a stat I do want to bring up from that game. So Daniel Jones became the only quarterback in the Super Bowl era to lead a scoring drive on every offensive possession in a regular season game. He is the only one.
Which makes
make it make sense.
Well, it tells me that it's not about Daniel Jones; it's about how poor Miami are. But we'll see if that's proven true. Let him have his moment. Yes. The fall is bigger once he, remember that playoff game where he absolutely went and took apart the Vikings, and we all thought, wow, this guy's great. And then, so this is their Minnesota Vikings moment, DJ playoff game for the Colts, and we'll see what happens afterwards.
Yeah, I also think it's maybe that Miami were really bad. Maybe they made him look that good. You can answer this one, May I? So much our East clean sweep, eh?
Yeah, well, 500 to 1, it was worth £1.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Let's face it, stranger things have happened. Leicester City won the league. They were 5,000 to 1 to win the league. So, it could have happened. The offense has been ineffective. Couldn't punch the ball home from the 1 yard line despite having seven attempts at it. And technically, it was game over when Jaden Daniels passed to Zach Ertz. Yep, him again, Zach Ertz, coming back to hurt us yet again. Just 8 minutes into the game, he caught that 7-yard touchdown pass to put the Commanders up 7-0. And if that was the only points they scored in the entire game, they would have won the game. So it says it all, really. I think that, again, we said last week about playing from behind. I think that we just didn't really recover, even after going down 7-0. Didn't really recover, and just kind of started off the season with just a dismal loss, really. Let's start to break this down then, mate. Offensively, we looked like exactly the same offense as last year, just with a different quarterback. Obviously, it was announced pre-game that Andrew Thomas would be inactive. Did we miss him?
Absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't what we wanted to see by any stretch from the offensive line. The view was certainly a lot of people had that actually our starting 5 were getting a bad rep in the media this offseason and actually weren't that bad. Problem was we only had 4 of our starting 5 out there. And that really, really affected us. Obviously, during the week when we did our preview pod, he practiced on the Tuesday. He had a kind of limited practice he was supposed to have a limited practice on the Thursday, and he didn't practice on the Wednesday. And the view was it was still possible. Comes out after Friday that he was doubtful. The nightmare was realised at that point that, oh no, we've got to have Hudson at left tackle. And I did ask the question what you would do, and actually everyone said they would play Hudson. I had my doubts from what we'd seen from Hudson, and I would have, me personally, and I know the attitude isn't like this in the league, but I would have flipped Illuminor over to the left because our quarterback wants his blind side protected, and then I would have played Bow at right or even Hudson at right. But play your swing tackle at the right tackle and put the guy that you know can play left tackle, even though it's not his best position, and put Illuminor out there. But we didn't. We kept the 4 guys in the fixed position, brought our swing tackle in to play swing start at tackle, and it was a nightmare. He was the main liability, Hudson. He played like exactly what we saw when we signed him. He wasn't a particularly highly rated swing tackle when we brought him in, and he didn't play at a level above that 45 passing snaps that we had. There were 8 pressures on the initial review of the tape. I think that's come down slightly, but you could argue that the 8 pressures are there. 2 quarterback hits. He had one that was slightly ticky-tacky penalty for holding that I'd argue wasn't a hold, but he got himself into such a bad position that probably deserved a flag. But it wasn't a hold. Greg Van Roten, Jermaine Illuminor, John Runyon all allowed 2 pressures, and so did John Michael Schmitz. So John Michael Schmitz did go up a sack. I think in general, initially after the game, I was worried about his performance. I think he was really let down by the guards around him, and that can really affect your centre because you need to trust the guys next to you. And there were so many mistakes from GVR and Runyon. It was like they'd never played our scheme before ever. Give the Commanders a lot of credit. They played a scheme on the front where they did a lot of cross action across the interior guys. There was stunts and folds and all kinds of things to really put those middle guys under pressure, and they crumbled under that pressure.
Just on that though, obviously you mentioned GVR and John Runyon. Obviously they're both experienced guards in this league, and it's almost like why were they so bad? So it's really strange, right? So maybe GVR, his weakness is lateral movement, especially at his age and his stage of the career. So if a guy lines up against him, maybe he can handle the bull rush. But if a guy's going to get across his nose and force him to move left and right rather than fight in the phone booth, as it were, it was struggling. Interestingly, most teams, you put your pass blockers on the left and your run defenders and you run behind the right side of the line, which is, obviously you protect your quarterback's blind side, so you put your best pass blockers there. Well, on PFF grades, both GVR and Illuminor achieved a 77 and a 74 respectively in pass blocking, but achieved a 43 and a 51 run blocking grade. So the run blocking was weakest on the right side, and the pass blocking, conversely, on the left side, Hudson with a 47.2 pass blocking grade and a 68.8 from Runyon. So the pass blocking on the left-hand side was not as good as the right-hand side, yet that's the blind side protectors. JMS was in the middle on both stats. So I think what you're seeing is like they were not functioning as a unit. They were. I describe it a little bit like in a boxing match. If you take a shot and get buzzed behind the ear in the early, you go into your shell, and then you're just holding on for dear life rather than actually executing your game plan. And that's what it looked like from our defensive line. From our offensive line is like they had a bad first snap. The bad first drive, and they were just shell shocked, and because of all of the movement that was schemed up from the Commanders. I mean, Kinlaw looked like a Pro Bowler with the way that he was able to defeat GVR play after play after play. It was really obvious to watch. When we talk about our defense, the difference was very stark between the two schemes. GVR was really, really bad in the run game.
and that kind of really hurts JMS as well. So we tend to run a combo block. So that's where you're asking for your two linemen to block the first guy, and then the guy that's on the back side of the play to take that guy, so the other guy can get to the linebacker and seal the linebacker up. So many times I've seen GVR go into for the combo, do nothing to the guy. It's almost like he was just playing pat a cake with the guy, and then move off before JMS has any chance to get a hold of the guy. When the amount of times that we got four hands on one guy, you're supposed to be driving the guy back. We didn't drive the guy back. The O-line managed to a 0.3 yards before contact for our running backs. So we're not winning the line of scrimmage at 0. That includes the play where we managed to open the hole once and Singletary got 10 yards. So that one play brings that whole average up. There was numerous plays where we had negative yardage in the backfield, and it just wasn't good enough. And we've seen in sort of preseason, we've seen in some of the practices, these guys can be more aggressive. Even on the pass play when they're running their stunts, one of the ways to counter a stunt is typically you kick, slide, and move back away from the line and to create that pocket for your quarterback. But if they're going to want to run stunts, they're running laterally rather than at you. They're great to knock them off their balance. And actually, there was a great, I think Frankie Louvu comes in from the side, JMS peels off, and he nails Frankie Louvu and gets a pancake block on him. Because when they're running laterally, you can get them off their balance. We were just back, particularly Hudson, he was just kicking away from the guy, letting the guy run wherever he wanted to run, and then being completely off balance when he's taking on the contact. And so there was just a complete lack of aggression from the O-line in the face of a scheme that was being very aggressive, and that really affected Russ.
Yeah, massively. I mean, and we're talking about the 0.3 yards after contact for the guys in the run game. You just look at the rushing statistics. The fact that Russ Wilson led the team of 44 yards on the ground, and we only had 74 total rushing yards in the game. I mean, 2.4 yards a carry for Tyrone Tracy, 3 yards a carry for Devin Singletary on his 3 carries. I mean, do we mention your boy?
Yeah, I mean, Cam got a raw deal, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But the fact is, when you're getting hit in the backfield, there's very little you can do, and it wasn't even multiple. Like there was a few comments, I think maybe even in the review yesterday, talking about it was individual mistakes, and if we get that individual mistake right, if we fix that individual mistake, it would have been a positive play. There were multiple individuals making mistakes on multiple plays, so it wasn't just, yes, they are individual mistakes, but either they didn't understand the scheme, either the whatever the commanders were doing they weren't prepared for, or they were just shell shocked and completely couldn't get out of the first gear and overcome it. It was clear that you could clearly see on tape what went wrong. Hopefully, that makes it an easier fix, because you can correct these things and you can change the scheme to simplify it. Because the one thing is, although we play a very obvious scheme, or we play a scheme it is quite a complex blocking scheme, and there are things that you can do to simplify it. It does limit some of what you can do as an offense, but in a situation like that, we needed it.
Yeah, and before we carry on and continue the post-mortem of the offense, there's a couple of comments I wanted to bring up. Jamie, I get the feeling you're not very happy, mate. Evening. If we don't win ASAP, then change is unneeded. Fans will not tolerate mediocre coaching and performances. You're not wrong with that. You then said, I'm disappointed with elements of the game. Theo Johnson, I'd hope, would deliver, come in clutch, but he didn't at crucial times on Sunday. Yeah, it's fair. The scheme doesn't need to be hard to beat us. Rush and push will fold. Interesting. And highlight for him was Cam putting 4 Washington players on their asses. That guy is a unit. I think that was a highlight for many people, Jamie. So thanks for bringing it up. It just kind of it begs the question as well, like what is the identity of his offense, almost, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and maybe the writing was a little bit on the wall, right? We're returning 10 of the 11 starters from last year from an offense that scored in the 30s of categories as a season. So, we saw it again. How many 3 and outs did we have? We were 32nd in terms of 3 and outs. We had a couple of 3 and outs, straight away. And I know we're going to get on to player of the game in a minute, but one guy that doesn't fall into a category is Jamie Gillan. And maybe when your punter's in the conversation for player of the game, that tells you a lot about the game, right?
I mean, and also let's give him the props as well. Graham Gano scored the only points of the game for us, so he had to be in the conversation as well. So when 2 special teamers are in the conversation, something is definitely wrong. And Jamie, carry on ranting, mate. It's all good. We're all doing the same, so it's no problem at all. Offensively, woeful. Let's talk a little bit about Russ Wilson. His stats for the game, let me just find it. 17 of 37 for 168 yards. Obviously, no touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It was good. You know what? I think one positive that came out of the game was we didn't give the ball away, and I think it could have been a lot worse. Obviously, there was that one fumble from Russ, but he recovered it nicely. I think there was a there
was an interception on a defensive offside, so it was a free play.
It came back on a penalty. That was it.
Oh no, it was a late hit on a quarterback. So it wasn't an offside. It was a late. It wasn't a free play. It was a late hit on a quarterback. So
yeah, and it was a late hit as well. But yeah, sort of a bit of an underwhelming beginning to his Giants career. He just couldn't really get the offense going, could he? Obviously he was supposed to be this upgrade on Daniel Jones. Didn't really look like it. But he's not. He's obviously. Everyone's going to blame the quarterback. It's the easiest person to blame. But when you're under pressure for 50% of your dropbacks or more, there's only so much you're going to be able to do. A 27-year-old quarterback is going to struggle under that much pressure. A 37-year-old quarterback is probably going to struggle even more. As good as Russ Wilson is or has been, he's not quite that guy anymore. So he did struggle at times, and let's remember he's on his 3rd different team in 3 years as well. So he's getting used to the playbook that Mike Kafka and Dave's have drawn up, and he's getting used to this offense as well. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to bed in, because we didn't really see a huge amount of him during the preseason. Obviously, he's done a lot of work in camp. He's done a lot of work sort of in OTAs and with the team in behind the scenes. But I think Sunday just looked a little bit rusty.
Yeah, I think you could have put prime Tom Brady back there, and we saw what happened to prime Tom Brady against the best pass rush in the league in the Super Bowl. Let's talk about
not once but twice.
Yeah, and you can't operate as a quarterback under that level of pressure. You just can't. So we definitely didn't give Russ the opportunity to show what he could do. Some of that was on him. He lost complete faith in Hudson, and he was bailing out of the pocket when he didn't need to. And then that was, that then when you bail out to one side, you can kind of only throw to one side. You also sometimes run into pressure, but do you blame him when he's, it's all gone to chaos? He's, his average time to throw was like 2.5 seconds, which is, reasonable. But we know Russ does have a tendency to have a longer time to throw, and he wasn't given the opportunity very often in the game.
Yeah, and I said I don't think he had the worst game. He didn't have his best game either by any stretch of the imagination, but it's difficult to put too much of the blame on him when I think realistically he probably did the best he could with the time that he had.
Yeah.
And looking at some other bits from the offense as well, the fact that, like I said, when we had that stand at the 1 yard line, we had 7 attempts to try and punch the ball in. Yeah, again, red zone offense just fails to come to anything apart from a field goal. Like, I think we ranked last in the league in terms of red zone offense last year, and it again starts off this year just cannot score a touchdown. It just.
Yeah, I think Kev put something in the chat around there being no first half touchdowns in any of Brian Daboll's 4 openers as a head coach. We've had a total of 6 first half points in those 4 games as well. So even the Titans game where we, went for 2 and won it, we've just been terrible in openers. Just terrible. We're minus 67 points in the first half of games in the whole of Daboll.
Points differential, yeah?
Yeah. So we've been outscored by our opponents by 67 points in the first half over the last 3 and a bit, 3 years and 1 game. 4 years and 1 game.
That's shocking, isn't it? That's absolutely shocking. And that's the thing, surely you want to come out and start the season off on the right foot and just be a little bit aggressive and put that little bit of confidence into the team, because they're kind of going to come off the back of this game now thinking, oh God, it is I can't remember who mentioned it in the comments earlier, but Steve mentioned it. It's like Groundhog Day. It's the same thing again. And it's like the guys that have been there for over the last 3 years surely are thinking is this really happening again? What? How are we not learning from this? And like I said, it begs the question: what is this team's identity? What are these 2 supposedly great offensive minds in Daves and Kafka doing about it? Because it seems like they're doing absolutely fuck all.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where I think maybe midway through the third quarter, I think it was, maybe getting towards the end of the third, I just thought I'd had enough and pretty much switched off by that point. Just because we just could not get anything going on offense. I think one of the bright sparks though was Wandale Robinson. I thought he had a fairly good game. Kev in his notes as well said that he thought he had a good game. 6 of 8 for 55 yards, or 6 of his 8 targets for 55 yards, got us 4 first downs. I think at one point as well, I think in the first half we dominated time of possession, but the Commanders just made their time of possession count way more than we did. Yeah. And Wandale also took 2 kickoff returns, which I thought was interesting. His first time since college since returning kickoffs.
It's one of those funny things, right? So if you put 2 returners back and one of the guys is a designated returner and the other guy's the starting wide receiver or slot wide receiver, do you want to kick it to the designated returner, or do you want to kick it to the guy that's a slot wide receiver, get an extra hit on him, and is not as dangerous as the guy that is a designated kick returner? So
yeah, you're going to kick it to the slot wide receiver every time.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You are allowed to put 3 players back there these days as well. That was a rule change this off-season as well. So before it was only 2, you can now put 3. But yeah, that was one of the reasons why we kind of all expected Smith-Marset to make the roster, and could have Smith-Marset and Turbo be the guys back there. But I don't mind seeing Wandale do it. I don't believe he has the explosion that Gunner has, that Smith-Marset has, that But if you look around at the team, who else does?
It's very true. And yeah, obviously, the questions were asked straight away about a quarterback change. And I think like I said, they were shut down pretty quickly yesterday. But Dave says obviously it's not all on Russell Wilson. You know, we need to do better all round on offense, and I think that's a fair reflection of the game. Is we just need to do better all round on offense, because God knows it was pretty poor. Let's go through yours and Kev's players of the game then.
So Kev went for Malik Neighbours, and he was 5 of 9 for 71 yards, no touchdowns, 25 yak yards. We saw, because of the pressure, we saw him he made a couple of high point catches, but the problem with the high point catches is there's no room to run after the catch. You're tackled where you are, and that was because there were balls underthrown for him due to the pressure. And it was a really difficult what to say, like this guy is clearly our best player. He was clearly frustrated during the game. But I don't mind him being frustrated, because we were all frustrated watching the game. Like he wasn't. It wasn't his fault that we were having an issue with the O-line, and yeah, I'd be rightly annoyed with him as well. But obviously, if we can get the guy the ball, we can give the quarterback time to get him the ball. He's everything that we saw last season, and I'm not worried. And I don't mind the tantrum.
No, I you know what, the tantrum as well. It shows that he wants to do better. He got obviously frustrated with Dave's about the lack of intensity on offense, and rightly so as well. It's not necessarily. I don't necessarily whether he got frustrated at Dave's. I think he was just venting his frustration because just the offense was just not performing, not firing on any cylinders really. And I've got time for that because he's a competitor at the end of the day. We saw that last season. We saw his passion last season, and it's quite nice that it's carried into this year as well. Your player of the game, no surprises who that is, Aaron?
Yeah, so to be perfectly honest, I didn't want a player of the game. But given that the feature is player of the game and we're early in the season, we haven't decided to abandon it yet. Cam Scatterbury, he only had 6 offensive snaps or 8 offensive snaps in total. 2 carries for -3 yards, of which both of them he was hit behind the point where he actually came down. One of them doesn't count because he was tackled by Marcus Bowe, who had whiffed on his block and had no opportunity to get out of Scatterbury's way. But it was he didn't have the running opportunity to show what he did, but he did have he had 3 passes. He ran 3 routes, of which he was targeted twice, and he made those 2 receptions go for 12 yards, including everyone's favourite highlight where he nutted 4 players on his way to getting 6 yards, including Pro Bowler Frankie Louvu. Bang, have it. I'm carrying on. And to be perfectly honest, what I wanted to highlight here really was not necessarily Scatterbury as look what a great game he has, but in the preseason when we had an aggressive defense, we relied on the screen game a lot more. Where was that today? Where were they? Think how many passes Turbo had on Sunday, had in the preseason, and where that was on Sunday as a way to get the offense moving, a way to get the defense thinking more lateral rather than pinning their ears back and going for the call.
You know what? I don't think I saw a single screen called that I can remember, that I can recall.
There was. And
when you're struggling on offense, it's kind of a good way to get things going, right?
Yeah, there was one on the very first drive that was not possible to complete, and yeah, obviously the Scatterbury pass was a very quick. He was actually lined up at the outside receiver position and just turned and caught it, and then ran over 4 guys. rather than lining up in the backfield. So he caught it from the receiver position. But then the other side of it, he actually ended up with a 93.7 pass blocking grade because the three snaps on pass plays that he didn't do, he wasn't defeated on the block. He laid the wood again on that block, and everyone went, "Oh yeah, let's have some of that."
Let's have it.
Did also interestingly come into the game second. So Tracy obviously got the start as we all expected. Scannaboo was the second running back featured in the game before Singletary got some time. We're going to expect the committee of the three guys. Tracy ended up with 75% of the snaps. I think, given obviously the injury preseason, maybe we're bringing him in slowly, but I think we'll see Scannaboo gain a few more, a bigger share of that work, especially again, if you can see the All 11 film, watch him when he does that play where he hits people. Watch the sideline and their response to that kind of fire up. And that can really get other players fired up and get other players going. So, yeah, just a spark from Cam Scatterboo. Maybe not really enough to be a player of the game, but I'm going to give my boy some love.
I'm not surprised, mate. I don't blame you. Give him some love because, that there is that highlight reel already and we love it. So, I hope we see more of the guy. I really do. Because he just brings that passion and that feel-good factor, doesn't he? So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him throughout the season then. All right, let's move on to defense. Defensively, they kept the team in the game realistically until the fourth quarter. But yet again, we see the same issues rearing their ugly heads. What is it with the Giants' defense and forcing a second and long, a third and long, and then just giving up a big play and letting them convert it for a first down? Too many times we saw it. Second and 16, 16-yard pass. Second and 19, a 13-yard pass, then an 11-yard run. Second and 21, 9-yard pass, then a 21-yard pass. Second and 17, 12-yard run, then a 19-yard pass. Second and 15, a 15-yard pass. It's almost like if you're in second or third and long, just play smart defense. You know they're good. They're gonna the opposing team's gonna aim for or around that first down marker more often than not, or try to get back, especially if it's on second down. Try and get back a big chunk of that yardage, and it just, for whatever reason, we just don't seem to pick up on that, and it just every time you think, we get a sack or a tackle for a loss or. Or even if there's a false start on offense and it goes back 5 yards or something like that, and it's second, third down and long, and then we just give up those chunks and give up those chunks again, and the frustration is real. It really is.
And wind me up and watch me go on this one. So this is where exactly what I feared about Shane Bowen, right? I feel this isn't necessarily individual errors on the defense. This is just scheme.
It's 100% scheme.
And I was saying how the scheme against us was ideal to go against us. We've seen how much we've crumbled under pressure. How often did we see 6, 7 guys on the line looking like they were all coming, and they did come, and the play was over before we even snapped it?
Yep.
We get the sack. Brian Burns gets a sack, and to put them into second and 16, right? The sack was caused because they were going for a screen, and Abdul Carter got in the way of the screen. Jaden Daniels pulls it down. Brian Burns gets the sack. The next play, they're in second and 16. We go into some kind of weird prevent defense and give up 16 yards to Debo. The 4 guys on the line of scrimmage, you've got Brian Burns at the left, you've got Roy Robertson Harris, you've got Nacho, and you've got Elijah Garcia. as the 4 linemen on the field. Where's Dex?
Where's
Thibodeau?
Dex? Where's
Carter is lined up as the middle backer, and what they do is they send the 3 D linemen, the defensive tackles. They all run. Carter beats his man, flushes Jaden Daniels out of the pocket where you think would be cleaned up by Brian Burns as the defensive end. No, we've told Brian Burns to drop back into zone coverage, and he's in the middle of nowhere for Deebo Samuel to catch the ball. If Brian Burns rushes on that play, the worst thing that happens on that play is as Jaden Daniels chucks it into the stand and they go for third down, it's 3rd and 16, right? Best case scenario is he runs straight into Brian Burns' arms and we've got another sack and it's 3rd and 20 and we've taken them out of field goal range, right? But the scheme just gives up chunk plays, and it's just not good enough. 21 points is perfectly fine, right? Like
it's acceptable to give up 3 touchdowns in a game. Right? It's going to happen, right? You're going to go against teams that are going to score for fun.
Yeah, it's not like it was 40-0 against the Cowboys, like all of those kind of things, right? 21 points is about where we know our offense can get to. And we could have won 24-21, like if the offense had performed at the level and the defense would have done its job, right? But the chunk plays they give up, and then the only reason why it wasn't more was a bit of mismanagement by the Commanders and 2 great plays by Abdul Carter to basically give them an intentional grounding to run out the clock, which meant they couldn't kick a field goal.
Yeah, fantastic. And you know what? That I thought as well, potentially that could be a bit of a momentum swing going into the second half.
Yeah.
To receiving the kickoff in the second half, and what happens 3 and out.
Yeah.
Hey, there goes that momentum. Go on, see you later.
But it was just I would really liked what our D line did, but I just think we're completely mismanaging it with scheme, and I still don't get it.
You think those 4 names that we've mentioned all off season, Burns, Tibbs, Dex, and now Abdul Carter, you've got 4 almost, Dex, Burns, elite pass rushers. Abdul Carter obviously potentially could be an elite pass rusher in this game. Tibbs has the potential to be, just need to see that a little bit more from him. We've got 4 guys there that can disrupt the absolute hell out of an offensive line, disrupt the absolute hell out of the opposing offense and get to the quarterback. And we just did not see that enough this week.
I think we've got 12 snaps of them together. That was it. With all 4 of them on the field.
And granted, obviously, you want to mix it up and you want to and fight whatever, but put your best damn players on the field. In a situation like that, like I said, we had Roy Robertson Harris, who has had a good preseason. Don't get me wrong. We had Nacho on the field, Nacho has done absolutely fuck all for the New York Giants, and then Elijah Garcia as 3 of the 4 D linemen on that 2nd and 16. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like you said, if Burns is there on the edge and rushes the passer, it could be so much better. You can't help but point your finger at Shane Bowen's scheme at this point.
Yeah.
We've seen a season of it. We've seen a season of close but not close enough. And this week again, close but not close enough. Just bring the fucking heat. And as Holty said, I miss Wink too, mate.
Yeah.
I miss that excitement on defense. I miss that. Fuck it. Cover 0 blitz. Let's fucking go. You know what I mean?
What's Antonio Pierce doing right now? Surely he can come and be our defensive coordinator.
I would gladly have Antonio Pierce at this point. And you're right, Holty. He would send the fucking dogs at 3rd and 16. You would send the house at 3rd and 16.
Yeah.
And if you give up the big play, you give up the big play. But at least you've tried and you sent the house.
Yeah.
I completely agree, Aaron. I just think it just wasn't good enough. They're giving up too many chunk plays on downs where you just don't. You don't need to keep giving. One or two here or there is fine. If the offense call an audible, based on what defense is showing, and they run a screen for 15 yards, or the running back finds the gap and converts for a first down, you're fine. You accept that these things happen, but consistently giving up, having a down where you've got a long yardage and just giving up those chunk plays consistently throughout the game is just not good enough. And saying, let's talk. I obviously mentioned the run there. Obviously, on paper, this defense could be fantastic, but yet again, we were awful against the run. Washington 220 yards on the ground, on 32 carries at almost 7 yards per carry. You do not win football games by giving up 7 yards per carry. It's as simple as that. 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Same story, different season. Too many times their runners got into the second level. Commanders blockers, it just made it look easy. They're literally it's almost like the opposing side, their defense made our offensive line look shit. Their offensive line made our defense look mediocre. And just for whatever reason, I don't know why, we just cannot seem to stop the run. And unsurprisingly as well, Jaden Daniels used his legs. What was the one thing we said was key on defense this week to get the win in this game? Is to stop Jaden Daniels. Is contain Jaden Daniels. And what didn't we do? We didn't contain Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and to give the defense some credit, going into the fourth quarter or whatever it was, there was a stage where it was 14-6, and actually, if the offense just scores on that going into the end zone, we're back. We've got 2 points to tie the game. The game wasn't out of reach until the fourth quarter, which to the end of the fourth quarter, which from a silver lining point of view, there is an element of progress there. But
don't get me wrong,
it never felt like a one-score game.
No, don't get me wrong. There were some positives from this week, and that was one of them. The fact that we were in this game up until very late, and it was this defense that kept us in this game, because Washington could have quite easily put this game to bed early on. Yeah, but they didn't, because our defense did stand up when it mattered. Our defense did make plays when it mattered. They got the Washington offense off the field. We had more time of possession in the first half than Washington did, which says a lot, because our defense played good football. But it's just these same things we've been talking about all of last year and this year now as well. Run defense and just giving up chunk plays on long downs. You just want these stupid mistakes and stupid things to just try to be ironed out. You've had 7 months to look back at last season and go, where did we go wrong? Let's try to not go wrong again in the same way. And what happens? We go wrong again in the same way. Learn your lessons. And if you're not, then, like Jamie said earlier as well, coaching changes needed if it's going to carry on this way in the season. Not just the head coach, but DC, OC, clear house and get 3 new coaches in. Because if we see the same trash this season that we did last season, then God knows it's the end of the line for all 3 of them. Run, maybe. And don't get me wrong, there were some real positives on this defense, I thought, as well. I thought Dex had a quiet but solid game. I thought he looked every bit the thing Dex, every bit Dex should look. I think even Elijah Garcia, the snaps he was on the field, I thought he didn't look bad. Cordell Flott is clearly CB2 at the moment, ahead of Tay Banks. I think Tay Banks only had 11 defensive snaps on the field in the entire game. And the only other player I think potentially mention that's not either myself or Shane's player of the game, I think was Tibbs as well. I think Tibbs had a relatively solid game, and
Yeah,
again, like all around.
the injury to Micah McFadden was hurt, so he made a couple of
It was key.
tackles.
Yeah.
And Darius Musa was chucked in, and I think he ended up with the third worst PFF grade for all linebackers this weekend, and it was like down in the 40s, 30s or something.
It was
terrible.
pretty poor, wasn't it?
Did not have a good game. Did not obviously get the same test of Daniel Jones did in preseason of having to run out there and perform straight away. And he runs straight out there and gives up the touchdown to Zach Ertz. So yeah, that of the positions on our defense where we are thinnest, linebacker is after the first two. I do worry about our depth in the linebacker room. Yeah. Obviously, the two guys in there for specials rather than their linebacker play. And then Musau was supposed to be the next man up, and the next man up did not perform at the level we needed him to.
No, I mean, obviously going into his second year, he did okay last year when he needed to, and I think this year we kind of needed to see that next step from him. And obviously, game one, you're coming in off the back of Micah's injury. You're coming in against a good offense. It's going to be difficult, I think. And shout out to Bobby Okereke as well. I thought he had a pretty solid game overall. And one thing as well, one positive I thought as well from the game, watching it on Sunday was our tackling. I think we tidied up our tackling very well. And there wasn't many missed tackles across the game, so I think that's another positive from this game on defense. Like I said, it's not all bad. It's really not. It's just making those same, not necessarily mistakes, but just it being the same narrative time and time and time again. It just gets frustrating and gets to the point where you just had enough of it, to be honest. Let's look at mine and Shane's players of the game then. Shane, unsurprisingly, has gone with Abdul Carter. Unfortunately, we don't have any shades to put on. Shades are on metaphorically. Let's say they're on. Shane's written these notes for us to read out, so I'm sure you can understand the passion in his voice. The biggest complaint in terms of Abdul Carter is he needed to see more action. He needed to see more time on the field. He was on the field for 38 out of 70 defensive snaps, and just 14 in the second half in total. This is the number 3 overall pick, a guy that's been raved about all off season, and you just didn't get him on the field enough. When he was on the field, he flashed and he showed what he can bring. 1 sack, he was credited with half a sack, wasn't he?
Yeah, so it was originally given to Thibodeau, and then it was split half and half. Yeah, but
2 hurries, 1 tackle. It was this close to blocking the punt in the second half as well.
Yeah.
He got his hand to it. I think if he was that split second more, and it would have been a full-on blocked punt.
But the good news about getting your hand to it is you're allowed to clatter into the kicker at that point, and he made sure he did that too. So yeah, nice.
Yeah, very true, very true. And he was also the highest graded Giants defensive player this week according to PFF. So way to make your debut, mate.
And if anyone wants to go back and watch that sequence, so there's a video from the crowd filming of the last 2 plays of the first half, and without doubt, without Abdul Carter, Jaden Daniels scampers in for a touchdown on the first play, and he makes a great tackle to prevent the touchdown. He gets back up, he lines up, and he puts pressure on the next play before forcing Jaden Daniels to just chuck it, get the intentional grounding call, and the 10-second runoff, which took us to the half. So he literally prevented 7 points on the first play and 3 points on the second play. Like that, all down to just his performance.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I think a pretty solid debut all round. We just want to see more of him. We want to see more of him because he could be a game changer. He really could be. I went for Brian Burns. Unsurprisingly, I think he came out of the traps pretty quickly. Obviously, the newly nominated team captain as well, and you could see that sort of almost that leadership on the field straight away. recorded the Giants' first 2 sacks of the season. He's the first Giant to have 2 sacks in week 1 since Jason Pierre-Paul did in 2011 against Washington. 14 years since the Giants defenders had two or more sacks in a game in week 1. There's that for you.
I have to say,
2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits as well.
I got the impression that this was the Brian Burns that we thought we were getting last year. Last year he was dealing with a lot of injuries. He looked every bit the part, the kind of star pass rusher, edge guy that expected coming in. So yeah, and he's set off on a good start. He's leading the sack race between the big four, and may not give up his lead.
Yeah, I mean, one of my bold predictions at the start, before the start of the season, was three Giants defenders to have 12 or more sacks this season. I mean, he's well on the way to that. He's got 2 already. So go on, Brian Burns. Ranks with the 4th highest PFF grade of the week on the team on defense with 71. Just one of the bright sparks on that defense. He did admit after the game, and the Commanders sort of dominated the game from the get-go, which, you don't really want to hear, but it's nice to hear that sort of reflection point that they know where they need to do better. And like I said, the defense kept the game within reach, and he was a big part of that this week. So that's why I went for Brian Burns. So unsurprisingly, Abdul Carter and Brian Burns for our players of the week the players of the game this week. That's what I meant. Overall, obviously not the best start to the season. There are some positives on defense. Believe it or not, there are probably, if you look deep, there are probably some positives on offense as well. You may have to look a little bit deeper to find those. But let's not forget, we've got one of the best receivers in the league in Malik Neighbours. We just need to see him. Just need to give Russ that little bit more time in the pocket to make a difference. And the Washington pass rush, although it wasn't on paper, is not great. They looked good. They looked good, and they just had the answer, and the offensive line didn't, unfortunately, and it was always going to be tough to come back from even just a touchdown deficit this week, and hats off to Washington. They looked good. I said at the beginning, it wasn't convincing. It wasn't the game wasn't over until very late on, but overall they were the better team and they deserved the win. I think realistically they outcoached. Dan Quinn and his team outcoached Brian Dable and his team. So unfortunately they deserved the win, and we're now sitting at 0-1. But it is a long season. Let's not forget it's not over until the Fat Lady sings or until the tank train pulls into the station. We'll be back every week to bring you the review, regardless of whether it's a win or not. We'll continue this throughout the season. Let's hope.
Shane's just given his pre-use checks in the engine house, isn't he? And he's just going to roll it out of the station. I think not quite ready for week 1, but I think he's getting just giving it a good service.
Yeah, he's servicing the train and getting that boiler going.
Yeah.
Getting that boiler going. Next week it'll be loading up the cold water.
That's it.
But yeah, I mean, there, like I said, there are some positives to take away from this weekend, and I think if we just iron out these issues, try to iron out these issues. I mean, we've got a tough game coming up this weekend against Dallas. Obviously, they pushed the Eagles all the way in the obviously the first game of the season on Thursday night. So it's going to be difficult, and they are coming technically off of a bit of a mini bye as well. They would have had 10 days to rest, so it's going to be a difficult game on the road in Dallas on Sunday. But you never know, Holty. We could be 16-1. We are only one game into the season, so let's not all be so down and disheartened just yet, because there's a lot of football to come. There's a hell of a lot of football to come. But unfortunately, that is all we have time for tonight. We'll be back on Thursday at the usual time, 8:30, to preview that Week 2 game against the Dallas Cowboys. This on the road at Jerry World. We take on the 0-1 Cowboys, who obviously they're in the same position as we are. They've got 0 wins in the win column, so let's treat it like it's the first game again. Like we're 0-0. Like, let's get our first win of the season. It's going to be a tough game, but
Micah Parsons must be licking his lips about going against this offensive line. Oh wait, he's got to wait until week 9 for that because he's not on the Cowboys anymore.
Yeah, what a shame. What a shame. And those videos that you shared with me last week, Mayo, oh my God, they were too funny. They were too funny. Reaction videos of Cowboys fans realising that Micah Parsons had been traded. If you haven't watched them, watch them because it's brilliant. Anything to add before we go, mate?
No, just see you all on the preview show on Thursday.
You absolutely will. Stick with us. It might, hopefully it's not as long and painful a season as it was last year. But we'll be here. Remember, not just once a week now, twice a week, every week throughout the season. So stick with us. As Scott said, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's both us. Like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review as well. Because we appreciate the love. Check out all the socials for the latest news and updates as well. Follow the links in our description to find out where we are. Whilst Craig is away in Florida, him and his wife Anna are blogging all their escapades around Universal and around Disney and everywhere they're going. They do have a page on Instagram if anyone fancies following them. They are at the Inked Explorers. That's the Inked Explorers on Instagram. So feel free to give them a follow and give them some love as well. They're doing a great job over there, and looks like they're having a thoroughly good time in Florida, and I'm very jealous. Thanks to everyone for watching and getting involved and getting your comments in. As usual, we appreciate the love you show to us, and my thanks as ever go to Aaron for joining me. We are signing off until Thursday. Let's go Giants.